is the Flex Network. Flex on everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Flex Network. I'm your host, as always, Flex Shane. You can follow me on Twitter at the Flex Network 1. I'm joined by, man, you're grinding every single day right now, Al. So I'm going to call you the hardest working guy in the biz today, Alan Seslowski. Alan, how are you, brother?
Hey, what's up, my friend Shane? Can you believe it? Thank you for saying that, by the way. And I'll take it as a compliment. There's only five weeks until NFL football kicks off. I mean, like, if you haven't started studying for or doing your research yet, you're behind, man. So this is a good podcast for people to listen to if you haven't started yet, or if you're in it. This will give you some tweaks and nuances. So I'm excited to August podcast.
This is a time of year when the casual fan who plays in fantasy league starts to kind of pay attention a little bit and follows the news. And this is when your casual home leagues start to re-up and they send the emails out and say, hey, guys, just want to make sure we're still playing this year, all that fun stuff. It's like freaking Christmas for us. It's Christmas season.
Yeah, I'm not even
season. Sorry, Al.
I'm not even sure there are like casual players anymore. Like my grandma is a casual fantasy football player. Like, she just kind of picks her team, but like most players are so educated and so up on what's going on nowadays. Like, just even compared to 5 and 7 years ago, guys in like The Office or women that you play with that, there's so, with the availability of information and notifications that buzz off right in the palm of your hand. You got to be careful. If you're a seasoned fantasy football players, the casual crowd is coming for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's kind of interesting is that I listen to a lot of podcasts and we listen to Sirius a lot, and I find the Sirius shows in general are a little bit more general knowledge, right? Like, they don't like typically just really dive into a lot of this like advanced analytics and whatnot, but because it's more so for the casual-ish listener. And they always talk about, okay, in your home leagues, it's going to go like this. Like, it doesn't, like, yes, people have home leagues, but everybody in the home leagues have been playing it for a decade. So it's not like they're casual fans. They're fully up and aware. Nobody's going to be drafting Darius Geis in the next couple of weeks. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. But so today, Al, speaking of which, we're going to be discussing the latest changes and latest updates to the DFS ARMY draft kit. You can pick it up at dfsarmy.com.
Yeah, and I just retweeted, for those watching on the live feed, I just retweeted that on the DFS ARMY the Twitter feed. So if you're up and scrolling through Twitter this morning on the DFS ARMY feed, they will see this podcast live.
Oh, wicked, beautiful. So the latest changes, I mean, obviously there's really two major moves and shakers. The first is obviously Darius Geis. He's off the board. He was cut by the Washington Redskins because
you said a dirty word. You said Redskins.
The Washington football team, whatever they're called now. But I guess this was an event that happened back in spring. So you wonder how much if this happened before the draft or if it was right around that time, which is why they went and elected to go and get a guy like Antonio Gibson, a player that you and I have been talking about really since the Senior Bowl and before that. He's an electric guy. How are you shaking out the Washington backfield right now? I mean, AP is going to be the starter, right?
Yeah, I don't have much of a hot take, but I would say for now, as of today, which is the August 9th, August 10th, I think that the for drafting, the presumption is that Adrian Peterson will get some early down work with Antonio Gibson likely to see more snaps than he was going to. So instead of, maybe having like 1 to 2 carries a game, he might be like a 5 to 6 carry a game or touch a game guy. I think that JD McKissick, believe it or not, if he makes the team, is going to serve more as the passing down role. And then they're going to see what they have in Bryce Love. I mean, Bryce Love was set to be a first round running back and then had a catastrophic injury, wasn't able to get on the field last year. And if he shows a pulse, he'll be out there. But Ron Rivera likes his veterans, and J.D. McKissick, even for fantasy, it has had games. So I think we're in an Adrian Peterson, Peyton Barber, if he makes the team, and J.D. McKissick kind of world. I know it's not that exciting. We all want to be high on Antonio Gibson, but rookies in an offseason, we've talked about it all offseason long that this is going to be tough for them to get up to speed. But we certainly like Antonio Gibson. I think the real question about Gibson is in dynasty rookie drafts, is he a first-round pick?
Man, well, if anybody's still doing a dynasty rookie draft.
Oh, they are. I'm in a couple still coming up.
Oh, really? Okay. So, I mean, before he was right around the end of the second round, start of the third round, that was that sweet spot for Antonio Gibson.
Yep.
That was when you were getting guys like Anthony McFarland, maybe even like a Darrington Evans, like, kind of those second tier type running backs. I would argue, yeah, he's probably up there around the late one, early two, which is where Keyshawn Vaughn was going earlier in draft season.
So there you go. There's a good question. Which one of
Yeah.
those two guys would you take in a rookie draft? Would you take Keyshawn Vaughn or would you take Antonio Gibson if you're in a dynasty rookie draft and you need a running back and it's like, say, pick 13 or 14? They're both there. What are you doing?
I'm still probably going in the direction of Keyshawn Vaughn. And the reason for that is because to me, he still profiles more so as an every down type back. We know that he can catch the ball. We know that he was a good pass blocker coming out of college. The latest buzz right now is that Ronald Jones is going to get the start to be the lead running back in that backfield. But I still think it's going to be up for grabs. I mean, if Ronald Jones was getting roughly 10 touches a game last year, maybe it upticks to 12 or 13. I still think that Keyshawn Vaughn is still going to get work. Obviously going on the COVID list, whether he had it or whether he would, I'm assuming he has it.
I think he's off already.
He's on now. Yeah, he's off now, but still, right? You're reading a lot about, okay, what's the long-term impact for this? So long story short, it's a short offseason as it already is, right? And then for Keyshawn Vaughn to go on the list, and I understand, it wasn't exactly like the guys were practicing. It was a lot more meetings, so they're just going to continue the online meetings, but it's just a notch in the wrong direction, right? For Keyshawn Vaughn. But I still think that he's got the opportunity. I like him better than Ronald Jones. So by call it mid-October, I think that Keyshawn Vaughn is going to get as much opportunity in that backfield as Ronald Jones. I don't know about Antonio Gibson because to me, he's more of like a specialist type role. I mean, he's comparable in terms of a talent profile to guys like Joe Mixon, to David Johnson. But the opportunity is there. These NFL coaches are stubborn, and Adrian Peterson's still probably going to be the first down, second down back on that team. And so I just, you mentioned it before. I worry about the opportunity every single week for Antonio Gibson. And if I'm drafting him as like a flex player, then it's tough. It's tough, right? Especially if you're in need of a running back position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How about for redraft? Are you changing? What are you doing with Adrian Peterson? Like where do you one, do you have an interest in him? And two, where would you draft him? Is he a 10th round running back now?
Man,
is he an 8th round running back?
I still have Adrian Peterson. When I updated my rankings, I still have Adrian Peterson buried around like the Kerryon Johnsons, Duke Johnsons, Tariq Cohen's, like that stage of the draft, which is right around between rounds 10 to 12. And I think simply the reason for that is I don't know how much upside Adrian Peterson really presents to us. Like, say he's getting 10 to 13 touches a game. Washington isn't exactly projected to be some elite offense this year. So, which means that if Adrian Peterson's getting the ball, it's going to be touches. It's not going to be receptions, right? So we already know that the potential yield and fantasy points per touch is going to be lower.
I think that if you're drafting or if you're starting Adrian Peterson in a specific week, you're hoping for 8 to 12 carries, 40 to 60 yards, and you hope he falls over the goal line.
Pretty much. Well, it's kind of interesting too. So a couple of years ago, I actually made a trade with our boy Barron in our Dynasty League, and I acquired Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson at the time. So this was 2 years ago now. And so I've just kind of been stashing AP on my team. And during the rookie draft season, he was a guy that, like, do I consider cutting this guy just to, get a spot for an upside player? But I would say in like a deep dynasty league, which is what we play in, he's going to be your flex, your second flex type position. And to me, that's round 10, round 11, round 12. Am I going out of my way to get Adrian frickin' Peterson on my team? No. But if the draft happens to fall that way, I'm kind of maybe a little bit light on running back, or I'm just looking for some depth. He's the guy that I'm willing to take a shot on. I just think the upside's so limited.
Yeah, I mean it's a warm body in a world where we presumably going to need more depth in all of our leagues. So yeah, no, he's certainly a viable guy. I guess another question is, So dynasty owners, I mean, this is the blanket statement because dynasty owners have been asking, what do I do with Darius Geis? Do I sell? Do I buy? Do I this? Do I that? He's certainly not a drop, put it that way. He was on the sleeper apps trending. He was one of the most dropped guys. I don't understand, unless you're in a 15 roster deep dynasty league, which means you're doing it wrong anyway. But this could, and I know it's not good for him and humanity and society, but for his fantasy prospects alone, this could end up being long term the best possible route to production. And what I mean by that, it's obviously it's gone completely wrong for the first 3 years, but he's going to be suspended in probably 8 games when he comes back. But maybe there's a situation where he lands on a team where, okay, he's paid his debt to society, he's paid his debt to the NFL, and he ends up in a better overall spot for fantasy production. So in the one league I own him in Dynasty, obviously I'm holding. Makes no sense to sell unless somebody's offering you a second round pick, in which case you have to think about it. But no reasonable owner is probably going to offer you that anyway. They're probably just going to enjoy making fun of you because you've had Darius Geis for 3 years.
That's more apt. But I was actually going back and forth with some people on Twitter just yesterday about this. And the question was, if somebody was offering you a 3rd round pick, would you take that for Darius Geis right now? And you have to kind of reason out, okay, what's the upside of these 3rd round picks, right? We just talked about it this draft season. It's guys like Joshua Kelly, Darrington Evans,
Devin Duvernay, if you want a receiver.
Yeah, exactly. So those were the types of players going in round 3. So if you're kind of just done, say you drafted Geis during his rookie season and you've held him this long, you thought, okay, this is finally the year, and you're kind of just done, because let's be honest, there's a true carrying cost to holding these guys on your bench for 3-4 seasons, right? There's a cost to that. So if you're done, you want to just cut bait and you're willing to take a 3rd round pick, I get it, I understand it, but more realistically, I'm not sure I would want to offer a 3rd round pick for a guy we're not really sure about. Is he going to get the Ray Rice treatment, or is he going to get the Kareem Hunt treatment in the NFL? The difference, of course, is that Ray Rice was kind of around the end of his career, whereas Kareem Hunt clearly is still productive. So it's let's be honest, the NFL is kind of hypocritical, right? They take a hard stance when they believe that a player is not going to be able to help them on the field. But we live in a society where people love the comeback story. Darius Geis, there was some odd things during the draft that kind of pushed him out of that 1st round. There was something, he was saying that some of the interviewers were asking him some inappropriate questions, et cetera. But, he's been pretty active in social media. He does a lot of things.
So when did this end up
locally?
When did you say? I never heard that. This presumably happened months ago, this incident?
I heard just yesterday that apparently this event happened in the spring, and the warrant for his arrest came out recently, which is why everything kind of went down and shook down the way that it did.
Wow, so they knew about this.
That's what I'm saying. I think that the Washington Redskins, the Washington football team, at the time the Redskins, at the time they were the Redskins. But I think the Washington staff knew what was happening. Look, I like Ron Rivera as a coach. I think he is a leader of men and people, and I think, look, they're trying to reinvent the culture in Washington. You really can't have a guy like this in your locker room, regardless of what kind of what he's doing for the community and whatnot, right? You got to cut bait. I get it. But, if you're another team and you're kind of desperate at running back and you can get Darius Geis for, say, at following the 8-game suspension, because that sounds about right, because I think that was a Kareem Hunt suspension, right? It was 8 games. We see Antonio Brown's 8 games. The chances are you're going to get him for half a season if the talent is there, because it looked like he was looking good in all the, the underpants videos that he puts on Twitter and whatnot. A team's going to take a shot on him. Probably not this year, but maybe next year. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm holding him unless I'm being offered a 2nd round pick. To your point, Al, I am holding him.
All right, there you go. There you go. There it is.
So another backfield that's changed recently. Ronald Jones has been named the starter right now in Tampa Bay, and as of for the last 2 days, he is currently RB number 30 in best ball 10s, 58 overall. Is Ronald Jones a guy you're going out of your way to go? I mean, he's right around DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, James White. Are you cool pulling the trigger at Ronald Jones in that position, Al?
Yeah, all off season, I have Ronald Jones is one of my Ronald Jones has been a player that I've said on podcasts is underpriced in his 7th and 8th round ADP. I think even in the beginning he was going in the 9th round. It was a no-brainer pick. I mean, for your RB3 or 4, it was just like this is the way I saw it. I predicted it would shake out. Now, of course, I could have been wrong. There was certainly two factions. There was the Keyshawn Vaughn is going to shove Ronald Jones out of the way faction, and then there was the Ronald Jones is the veteran. He's gotten better every year. He was still a high-end RB3 last year. But now, obviously, the price has jumped into like the 5th round. So, no, is the short answer. I'm not going out of my way, but it's also a function of how I've been drafting. And that is attacking running back with certainly 2 out of my first 3 picks, and in many cases, 3 out of my first 4 picks. So by the time the 5th round comes around, I'm in the receiver tight end market anyway.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, it's how are you constructing your team? So in theory, if I don't know, say you were on the turn and Devontae Adams falls and you decided
I think it's more for the Michael Thomas guy. The guy who's in the middle of the first round does not have an elite running back, grabs Michael Thomas, and then it swings back around and he hates the running back choices. So he takes Tyreek Hill or Chris Godwin or Travis Kelce.
One of those
now
guys,
he's in running back hell, and now he's chasing. So by the time round 5 comes around, this player is the one that's reaching for Ronald Jones. And I say reaching because who knows, it could be payoff. So I think if you take Michael Thomas in the first round, you're going to be having to make that decision.
Yeah. So right now his ADP, like I said, is RB number 30. I noticed in your rankings here, you've got him right around RB 31. Maybe you'll massage that a little bit.
Let me see where I have him at 31. Yeah. No, because this is kind of where this is the order of the players I would still take. I mean, I would still, even though I don't like David Johnson at all, I could see a very Carlos Hyde last year type of season for him, which, by the way, is dangerous for its own reasons. But all the players I have over him, I mean, maybe I'd take him up. I still like Jordan Howard the same. Obviously, Darius Geis at 29, I would scratch off my list. But Singletary, I like better. Akers still with the upside. Kareem Hunt still going to have every week value. And David Montgomery is still going to get worked.
Well, it's a question mark. It's are you willing to pull the trigger on a guy like Raheem Mostert, who his ADP is starting to creep up again, or are you into Marlon Mack territory? So, I mean, where you have him is probably right when you're looking at it in a vacuum, just compared to his other RBs. But the reality is we're going to be telling our users to go elsewhere, where we're saying, okay, hammer running back early. This is a good spot. I mean, maybe you want to pull the trigger on one of his elite quarterbacks. A guy like a Kyler Murray, or maybe even Deshaun Watson is available in that area, right? I mean, we're just saying, listen, when you're constructing your team, this is the spot to really hammer wide receiver, hammer if you want to go and get one of those elite tight ends. Mark Andrews and Darren Waller are starting to fall in draft.
Yeah, I don't understand why. Why is that?
I think people are just naturally hammering their running backs early, which means they want to get one of those elite wide receivers in the 3rd and 4th round. And so people just are waiting on tight end. I think that's just kind of the reality of it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, but it's funny. Like people, a lot of drafters like, oh yeah, I'll just pick up like 2 or 3 of those tight ends in that 9 through 20 range. It'll be great. I'll have Dallas Goedert, and I'll combine that with TJ Hawkinson, and then when both of them go like 3 for 30 in week 1, and then it that's when the problem started. There's something comforting about having you don't need an elite tight end, but one that you can count on and not have to make a decision on every week. So I think that if you're letting Mark Andrews slip down and Darren Waller, I'm not as confident, that is a mistake. I mean, if you're in a draft with me and Mark Andrews is in the 4th round, certainly in the 5th round, he's off the board. So if you're drafting with me and you're listening to this podcast, just understand that I'm taking him.
So I'm currently in a best ball. I just picked up Evan Ingram in round 8.
Yeah, he's talking about falling. He's falling. Yeah,
people are worried about the injury, and also now the strength of schedules are out, right? And the Giants have a pretty challenging schedule to start the season, and so I mean a lot of these guys are kind of going down the board a little bit.
Yeah, I don't. Admittedly, I don't pay too much attention to strength of schedule because things change so much from year to year, and even in a normal year, the beginning, it's just I don't know. It's even if the Giants play poor, like lose games, I feel like they could still at least score points. I mean, is the defensive attention is going to be on Saquon Barkley? It's going to be on containing Daniel Jones from the run. It's going to be on those veteran wide receivers. I'm not sure Evan Ingram is going to be the focal point of any defenses.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because last year the Giants were kind of a disaster and Daniel Jones was still productive. I mean, you were higher at the start of the draft process. You were higher than anybody I knew on Daniel Jones, and the reality is he's panned out, right? I mean, I think he
for fantasy,
depending on your
sure.
scoring system, he had either 2 or 3 games over 30 points last year. And look, he's got Saquon Barkley, who's hopefully going to be healthy all season. Evan Ingram, again, crossing our fingers that he actually stays healthy for at least 12, 13 games, which is what you can bank on. He's got Caden Smith in case Evan Ingram goes down. And then, of course, the wide receiver core, which was pretty barren last year. So I'm bullish on the Giants. I think we both are this year. And if you can go and get a guy like Evan Ingram in round 8 as your tight end 1, hell, I'm totally comfortable with that, especially in PPR leagues.
Yeah, and also you talked about being bullish on the Giants. Someone I'm adding to the DFS Army sleeper draft kit, I've added Golden Tate in there because I just like where else are you going to get 80 catch? 75 to 85 catches is not like a floor. It's like a likely outcome. Mm-hmm. And in the 10th, 11th round, 9th round, if you reach, I mean, where else are you going to find that? It's people are forgetting how good Golden Tate was in PPR leagues.
A lot of people are saying that Sterling Shepard's going to be the lead on that team. So it's going to be Sterling Shepard. It's going to be Darius Slayton. But you're saying you would rather just wait and take a guy like Golden Tate a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Sterling Shepard, usually where Sterling Shepard goes in like the 8th, 9th round, there's just other players there, other positions I'm looking at. By the time the Golden Tate section, the tier of the draft is around, that's where I'm looking to add my 5th, 4th, 6th receiver, So it just makes sense from a roster construction. And yeah, I mean, in a straight up bet with Sterling Shepard versus Golden Tate, I have no problem someone saying Sterling Shepard will produce him, but it's just, again, cost factors into this. It's not enough of a lean one way to justify 2 extra rounds.
Okay, so Darius Slayton is going at 104 overall.
Yeah.
Wide receiver number 41. Sterling Shepard is 127, so about 2 rounds later, and he's going 47 overall at wide receiver. And then Golden Tate is about another round later at 137. So you're getting him right around the 12th round. Wide receiver 53 overall. That's golden, man.
Yep, no pun intended, right?
No pun intended. That's
yeah,
right.
no, Darius Slayton might be. I mean, we love him, and for Dynasty, he should certainly be the first of those 3 picked. But aren't you getting the feeling that he could be extremely overvalued in redraft?
Well, yeah. I mean, we just talked about all the weapons.
Yeah, and when he flourished last year, and nobody was healthy. Now everyone's back and healthy, presumably, including Barkley. Sure, will he have some spike weeks? Yes, but I just don't think he's worth the 8th round pick in which he's being drafted.
I was getting him earlier in the season, in the draft season, but I've definitely cooled on him a little bit just because, what's a true upside on any given game? Does he have the speed? Does he have the ability? Absolutely. But there's just so many other viable options in that offense that it's too high. It's way too expensive. It's way too expensive. Where are you on the Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver chart?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some interesting news blurbs come out about the Las Vegas Raiders over the last, 4 or 5 days, including Henry Ruggs is going to be playing in the slot a good amount in addition to outside. We saw the highlight reel catches from the practice. Henry Ruggs looked great. I mean, right from the beginning, I've told you I've had Henry Ruggs as my wide receiver 3 for fantasy in this class, above Rager, above Jefferson. I'm in all the rookie drafts I'm in. I'm happy to take him at pick 10 overall. Or earlier if the need be. I'm all in. Remember, he was the first wide receiver taken in the real NFL draft. The order in which these guys are drafted matters. Meaning, obviously it doesn't improve their skill set, but he's going to get opportunities. Tyrell Williams, I mean, it's not like, he's cemented in there as the starter, but it's not like he's Julio. For now, that's what I'm saying. It's not like he's Julio Jones and no matter what happens, they're not going to bench him. If Tyrell Williams drops a pass in the first game and then has like a 3 for 30 line in the set, he's done. Like, he's off the field. And then we've even heard some talk that Brian Edwards could be looking at starter reps as well.
Well, Hunter Renfrow, he was productive last year, but again, there weren't too many other options. Tyrell Williams was injured for a good point of last year, but when he was on the field early in the season, he was okay. I mean, he was reasonably, if you were starting him as your wide receiver 3 or even as a flex spot, he was okay to play. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'm high on Brian Edwards. It's tough when these prospects, we don't go to the combine. So Brian Edwards broke his foot, but he's fully cleared to play right now. He was getting comped by Derek Carr to Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit of hyperbole, but
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Devontae Adams is a particularly good. I mean, he's a good passer, but he's not like an elite separator or like that. He's just good for fantasy because
yeah,
Aaron Rodgers funnels him the ball. I mean, is he an elite? Would you even say that he's an elite top 5? If you were ranking the wide receivers, regardless of team, would he be in your top 5? I mean, who would be? Let's go over this. Who would be the top 5 best receivers in the NFL? You got Michael Thomas because of just elite separation, pass catching ability, catch rate. Odell Beckham, Hopkins for sure. Yeah. Okay. Who else we got there? Who else would be Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill is certainly up there.
And then
Chris
Chris
Godwin's
Godwin, right? That's what I'm saying. It's like we're not even considering Adams in the top 5.
Well, if Devontae Adams was not in Green Bay and really Aaron Rodgers' only viable option, he would not be going as high as he's going to go, right? I mean, people know that Devontae Adams is going to get fed targets and he's going to be fed touchdown opportunities.
No, for fantasy, he's a first round pick. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's opportunity. And yeah, you're right. I mean, and look, Devontae Adams, for however productive he is now, he was not a very good wide receiver when he started in the league.
Yeah, no, he's for fantasy, he's very good, and he's in real life, he's very good. He's just not one of the elites. So tying it back to Bryan Edwards, are you putting him in your redraft rankings? Is he even going to be in your top 65 receivers, or is he just more of like, hey, let's see what happens? He'll be one of those guys that's on my watch list on the waiver wire. Like, how about this? Tyrell Williams or Bryan Edwards in redraft during the last round, 16th round?
I'm taking a flyer on Bryan Edwards.
Yeah, that's what I agree too.
Yeah, I mean, where you have to take him, it's basically one of the last picks in your draft.
Right.
But,
so fix your DFS Army draft kit rankings then.
I'm trying to look for where I found him. I can't seem to find him. Maybe I haven't moved him up yet. Right. But Bryan Edwards to me is a player that, if you're talking about upside, he's a player that I want to go after. I've got him right at the end of the round. I've got him like around T. Higgins, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, like that area of the draft, which is essentially your last round pick.
Yeah, I have to pick mine as well because I have Tyrell Williams at wide receiver 78. I'm just gonna pull him out and put Edwards in there.
Yeah. Well, I guess here's your last pick of the draft. Are you going to go with a guy like Paris Campbell, Jalen Reagor, Michael Pittman, so some other rookies / sophomores that didn't really start? Our boy Steven Sims.
Reagor's moving up, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking this. I'm just looking at rankings. I'm not looking at ADPs. Who are you pulling trigger on?
Well, I like Reagor. Reagor's he's the rookie that's going to get fed the most targets. I mean, Paris Campbell, we like his projection. We liked him last year. Didn't there was limited opportunities. He gets the incomplete grade, but certainly Reagor projects is a little bit better. He's going to get instant opportunity, and he's going to be catching Carson Wentz passes.
Well, I mean, you talked about where you had Henry Ruggs. I love Jalen Reagor. If we talk about just like my favorite prospects, guys that I want to root for, that I enjoyed watching the game film on the most, CeeDee Lamb, just because I think he looks like DeAndre Hopkins, and you know how much I love DeAndre Hopkins. But it was Jalen Reagor, it was Denzel Mims, and it was Bryan Edwards. Those were my 4 probably most, just when I was going and watching the game tape at the very start of the process, guys are like, holy crap, like these guys are freaking good. Now, I've warmed up certainly on Michael Pittman a little bit because I just, for whatever reason, he wasn't high up on my list. But then after the Senior Bowl, and he's just a great player. I went back, and you were higher on him than I was, and you said, Shane, just go back and rewatch the tape a little bit. And he freaking beasted. So
he's good. He
kind of crazy.
The one knock on him, because I was trying to look for just some dings on him. Yep. It's funny, and recently too. And the one thing that I found just through doing a little research and rewatching again was that is he gonna? I want to see him display NFL toughness, meaning like break press coverage, go up and get it, because I think he has it within him. I just want to see him do it. But for Dynasty,
he's a big dude.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He's a big dude. But I want to see him and do it. But in Dynasty, I'm still taking him as like the 12th overall pick in Dynasty.
Man, I think we're gonna look back, and this is gonna be one of the best wide receiver years I think in history.
Certainly looks that
2014 was a very special year. I think this could certainly rank up there. The New England Patriots did not take a wide receiver this year. They spent last year a first-round pick on N'Keal Harry. This year, they essentially spent a second-round pick on Mohamed Sanu.
Good investment.
Is it a good investment? You think so?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, okay. There's the sarcasm.
They could have had. Where did they pick? I have to look at where. Where
it would have been at the end. It would have been around 26, 24, top of my head is where they were picking in the draft.
Looking it up.
Yeah. So N'Keal Harry apparently
Because no, it would have been a second round pick, right? That they
they
traded
get
away.
a second round pick. So I for some reason the 24th spot overall stands out in my head.
Not
Did
overall in the second round.
Well, they would have gotten 24th pick in the first round, 24th pick in the second round, et cetera, right?
Right.
But
So
it's
Atlanta. Who got the pick? Atlanta, right? Or did they trade it to
no, it
someone
was
else?
Atlanta. Yep.
Because Atlanta's pick in the second round was 15. Maybe that was their own pick.
Yeah, that probably would have been their own.
And
pick.
then I don't see another pick that Atlanta made, so maybe they traded away. So let's see if you go back to the first round, because I want to figure this out. That's a really interesting exercise to use it. So the New England picked at what number? See, they picked at. I'm not seeing a pick in the first round either.
No, they didn't have a first round pick. So their first pick was Kyle Duggar at 2.5.
Okay. So anyway, let's just say the 24th then, right? So
sure.
who was available at that point in the draft that basically New England took into Mohamed Sanu instead of? So starting to they could have gotten
that's where some of the elite running backs were going at the end of the second round.
Right. But if you're talking about receiver, this is basically who they traded Mohamed Sanu for. Denzel Mims went at 27. Van Jefferson went at 25 in that round. Mm-hmm. And so it would have been one of those two. Would you rather have Mohamed Sanu or Denzel Mims?
Oh my God, you know the answer to that question.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then if you look at some of the other receivers that dropped into the third round,
but okay, here's a rationale. I mean, like it's easy for us now to look back and say this was a really bad pick, but if you look at Mohamed Sanu before he was traded to the Patriots, he was extremely productive. He was doing great in the Atlanta offense. He was getting opportunities, and he was kind of just like a guy that could help move the ball down the field.
You're a Patriots fan. Is that what the Patriots needed last year? Another like possession chain mover that needed like a take the top off like red zone threat?
But they've never really been that sort of team. I mean, really since Randy Moss, they haven't really had a wide receiver that could just take it over the edge. I mean, they had Brandon Cooks a few years ago, and he had his moments, but for the most part, they've always been just a possession type team. You know, they've got a solid defense. They know that they can win with their defense. So they want to just keep the ball and let Tom Brady essentially pick apart an offense. So you have a player like James White in the backfield. You have obviously Julian Edelman. You have Mohamed Sanu that are possession receivers, and you can kind of just pick apart these defenses. The Patriots wanted to win a Super Bowl last year, and Mohamed Sanu they thought at the time was going to help them get over that edge. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. Mohamed Sanu got injured. If he didn't, did the Patriots really have the gas to go and get past teams like the Chiefs? Hard to say, but probably not, right? Let's be honest with ourselves.
Right. Or the Titans.
Sorry?
Or the Titans.
Or the Titans. Oh, gosh, yes, the Titans, absolutely. I mean, look, that was the death blow, which I love because I love Mike Vrabel, as you know. But
cool.
It's tough to say, but
all right.
For this year, like pretty much, if you're other than a guy like N'Keal Harry late, I'm probably not taking Julian Edelman just where he's going. Like I'm just going elsewhere, and it's probably where I'm drafting my tight end, maybe my quarterback. I'm a little bit reluctant. Where I was coming with this is like, N'Keal Harry, is he going to be productive this year? Maybe, hopefully, I hope so. But is he a guy that you're actively drafting? Not really. I know that the Geek said that he was somebody he loved. He's somebody that I love in round 13 and 14. So again, this is where you're taking your flyer picks, because most leagues, now albeit maybe bench spots are being added this year, but most leagues are only drafting for 15, 16 rounds. And if you've got a defense still, it's typically where you're taking your defense. So at round 14, that's essentially your last skill position player, or one of the last skill position players, right?
Yeah, no, I like where Harry's going. I think he's worth it. In the Beat Chris List League in the high stakes RotoWire Online Championship, I took Harry in like the 12th or 14th round. It's like, why not?
Oh, exactly. You're playing for upside at that point, right? And that's what we talk about. Like, who are you going to draft? You're going to draft like a low upside guy like Mohamed Sanu, or you're going to go Brian Edwards, you're going to go N'Keal Harry, you're going to go Paris Campbell. These are all players that.
And Harry has a clear path to targets, and so I mean, he'll walk into 100 targets, right?
Who are you drafting first, Michael Pittman or Paris Campbell?
Probably Campbell because of Phillip Rivers' style and him looking, how he was able to connect with Keenan Allen and that style of receiver. I think
T.Y. Hilton already has like a hamstring thing, doesn't he?
I mean,
they said it'll be fine, but It just
Yeah,
worries me.
T.Y. Hilton's never on my draft list. I never take him, and especially at the price he's going in the 5th, 6th, 7th round.
T.Y. Hilton was always a guy that I like to have on my team because I feel like he was always just a little bit underrated for what you would get from him. But at this stage of his career.
Yeah, this stage. And it's too many injuries, and it's the age and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. So is there any other pressing issue here, Al, you want to discuss with the draft kit? Or should we tell the good people where they can go and get the draft kit?
Yeah, so if you're interested in seeing my rankings, Shane's rankings, just go over to DFS Army, sign up, become a member, use promo code SEZ, S-E-Z, get 20% off, and check out our draft kit. We have our rankings, we have our sleepers, we have some draft analysis, and more importantly, you can ask us start-sit questions anytime you want in our Slack chat over there, and Shane has been a major contributor this year to the DFS Army draft kit. He's data-driven, goes deep dive, looks at the advanced stats, and I really like what you did with your rankings, making it more. You used projections and numbers, but you also tilted a little bit around to how you would draft. So I think that's a really smart way you did the draft kit.
Hey, listen, I learned from Dalton Del Don. That's how he does it, and he's been one of the most accurate drafters. What's the term that you were using about ranking towards ADPs a little bit?
As far as regressing to the market, you talking about
to the market? Okay, yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, in some cases, you have to kind of regress to the market, and if a player, for example, right now, I've got Keyshawn Vaughn and Ronald Jones back to back in my rankings, but I'm probably going to move Keyshawn Vaughn down a little bit, and simply because he's going later. He's going around like rounds 11 and 12 now with the most recent news, and so I'm going to say if you can get him around 10, that's where you want to be drafting Keyshawn Vaughn, knowing that I'm probably going to be passing on a guy like Ronald Jones at their current ADPs. But in a vacuum right now, as much as I love Keyshawn Vaughn, you got to rank Ronald Jones ahead because he's going to be the starter, right? Like it's take lock at this point if you're not adjusting your rankings accordingly. So absolutely, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, this has been a labor of love for sure. I mean, we spent a lot of time, we spent a lot of hours going in. We talk about our rankings almost daily. Al and I are texting each other back and forth saying, hey, where are you putting this guy? Where are you putting that guy? And
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work goes into it. And you mentioned the Slack chat. We say it all the time. That's where the magic happens, baby. It's you come and you interact with myself, you interact with Al, you interact with that nefarious geek. Hopefully he's wearing a shirt. And that's where you're going to get all your information. So cool. Al, we're going to end it there. Again, guys, go check out dfsarmy.com. And guess what, Al? FanDuel, DraftKings, week 1 slates are up, baby.
So okay. Something to talk about next week, then.
I'm sorry?
Excellent. Something good to talk about for next week.
Absolutely. And actually, DraftKings now has best ball.
Yeah, no, I played one yesterday. I played a 30-second best ball yesterday. It's good.
Oh, it's beautiful. So, okay, Al. So how do the good people find you on Twitter?
At Alan Seslowski on Twitter and at Alan Fantasy Football on Instagram.
Awesome. Of course, you can follow us at the Flex Network 1 on Twitter. If you like what you're listening to, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you like what you're watching, please go down and click like. And hey, give us a few comments. If you like what you're listening to on YouTube or watching, let us know. We appreciate any sort of feedback. We're a grassroots operation here, but we're doing it for you guys because we love to talk about fantasy football. So for Al, for Flex Mats, we are the Flex Network.
This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. This right here is the Flex Network. Yeah.